Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to yet another episode of The Draw Step. And unless you have been living under a rock, I'm sure you've probably heard the news by now that there have been 5 unbans on the commander list. Now, I personally almost exclusively play Commander. It's the only format that I really enjoy to play. It's how I first got into Magic, and that's really a story for another day. But Commander is my go-to set. So when they announced on Tuesday the 22nd that they were going to be unbanning 5 cards, well, they announced they were going to be unbanning some cards, and then on Tuesday they finally revealed that the 5 cards they were going to be unbanning is Gifts Ungiven, Sway of the Stars, Braid's Cobble Minion, Coalition Victory, and Panoptic Mirror. Of these 5 cards, I would say the card that I was most excited about being unbanned is Gifts Ungiven. I have a deck that I had put Gifts Ungiven into before I even realized that it was banned. So now the fact that this deck is actually legal, tremendous. And that is my Beamtown Bullies deck. I actually have a link to it. I have the full deck build on the channel right now, and you'll see how powerful that card is in that deck because it allows you to tutor for 4 cards basically, and yes, half go into your library or into your graveyard and half go into your hand. But in a deck like Beamtown Bullies, where we are bringing stuff from our graveyard, it's a win-win. You can just tutor for 4 win cons basically, put them either in half into your hand, half into your graveyard. They'll get into your graveyard eventually, and that is an incredibly powerful card. So I think that is going to have, out of all 5 cards, the most impact on the gameplay meta, as it were. However, the card that I think is going to be the most fun, and what I personally am going to start playing now, is Coalition Victory, which is a sorcery for 3 generic and then Wooburg. That says you win the game if you control a land of each basic land type and a creature of each color. So if you're running like a Wooburg deck, having your commander out is going to specify that. And then a land of each basic land type, very easy to ramp into or get that done. So I have talked about before on the channel, I am a sucker for alternate win cons. I love them anytime you can do it. Not just a combo, but an actual alternate win con. One of my favorite being Approach of the Second Sun. That was probably one of the first alternate win cons I ever put into a deck and really explored. That was in my Quain Inert Meddler or something like that. One of those decks. It's also on the channel. Fun facts. You should check that out. But I don't really run a lot of Wooburg decks. If I ever do run one, I am certainly going to put something like Coalition Victory into it. Are you going to win a lot of the times with it? No. It's 8 mana. That's a pretty high casting cost, but when you can pull it off, it is such a sweet feeling to be able to do something like that and win the game in a somewhat unexpected manner. So that is my favorite from the list. Now, as someone who has a running series on YouTube of trying to make money off of opening packs, the part of this change that I actually care about the most is the effect to the actual card values now that they have been unbanned. So looking at them on a card-by-card basis, Sway of the Stars, this is a blue sorcery for 10 mana, right? 10 mana. That is a lot, and it basically just resets the game. So I think it's a little janky. I don't know how much people are really going to want to play it, but the price has absolutely exploded on this. It was running, even while banned, about $2 just because there isn't a lot of quantity of the card, but it has now jumped all the way up to about $10 to $15 is what it's currently running at. So that is a massive increase that card has spiked to. If you have any laying around, that's certainly great for your collection and the value there. Is it going to stay that high? I don't personally see this one staying up that high in value. I think there's a lot of hype around it right now because it's come out. There's probably some Commander players that didn't even know that this card existed. And now that it's legal, some people will probably be rushing out to get it, throw it in their decks. But for the most part, I do not see this card remaining that high in value. Next is Braid's Cobble Minion. This one is also another example of it really has stayed pretty steady around 70, 80 cents. Nothing crazy, nothing to write home about. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player sacrifices an artifact, creature, or land. It can be really oppressive. It can make a really strong control deck in a way of just making it really hard for everybody to be able to get anything out in the early game. And as far as price now, it has jumped up to between $6-7 in price. So that is a healthy spike. I mean, that's a 10x increase on that card. But this is, again, another one where I think some people will use it as a commander. Some people will make that as a commander deck. I don't think it's actually going to be that strong just in today's meta. Think about how many destruction spells there are for now 2 and 3 mana that you can even do at instant speed. Murder used to be the main one at 3 mana. But now there's even better renditions of that. The power creep is real in Magic. So $6.80, I don't see it staying at that, but I could easily see it being around a $2.53 card. So that is nice, especially if you have a copy of it. Coalition Victory, as we talked about, this one has been increasing in value for a while. There has been rumors or hype around this card coming off of the ban list for a little bit now. This is probably the card that I was least shocked that they did unban, and it has been rising because of that. So it's hard to give a real baseline, but I would say around $1 or $2, and it is now sitting between $13 to $15 depending on the art or the quality of the copy you have. So that's pretty solid. That is a pretty giant leap there, and just based off of how it was trending up even before it was unbanned, whereas the others were not really moving even though there was some rumors around them. Coalition Victory, there isn't a large supply of it. I would say this one is most likely to stay around a $10 to $11 card unless it gets reprinted, which, knowing Wizards of the Coast, the next Secret Lair is probably going to have a copy of Coalition Victory, because why wouldn't it? It's Wizards of the Coast. Fourth on the list, we have, or it's actually the final card on the list, we have Gifts Ungiven. And Gifts Ungiven is one of the cards, or the main card, like I was saying earlier, that I think is going to have the biggest impact and also have the most stability as far as the price staying after the spike. So it was running about 50 cents to $1, and it is now anywhere from, depending on the copy, the lowest you can find is about $20, and I have seen as high as $30. So that is a massive, a meteoric spike in price, and I think it's going to stay relatively up there. I could easily see this staying at about $20-ish, $15 to $20 card until it gets reprinted. And again, Wizards of the Coast is known for reprinting the hell out of something until that price craters or until they feel like they can't make any money off it. And then they'll create an alternate art of it, and then they'll put a foil on it, and then they'll put it in the secret layer. But they'll get their money's worth out of it before you ever do. I think that Gifts Ungiven will still stay pretty solid with the pricing. And then the other thing that they did on top of those 5 cards that they changed is they also added to the Game Changers list. And now this is a slightly different way of looking at it. There's now the 5 different brackets, and I personally am kind of like a middle of the road player. I do enjoy some combos, I do enjoy some tutors, but I don't like my whole gameplay being that. Like, I don't play CDH. I'm not a competitive player. I don't want every game won by turn 2, although I will say some of my friends I play with, their wet dream is to play until turn 50. They would drag that out for as long as possible. And I used to be that guy too. I used to make decks that just, I don't know, burned lands or would stall out and make you take forever. And then I realized, okay, this isn't fun for anyone. I am over this. So now I try to speed everything up with everything that I'm doing. So the whole Game Changers list, to me, it doesn't really mean much. They're not banned. They are still legal. They're just more powerful than other cards. Well, cool, I guess. If you choose to use these in your deck or not, that's personally up to you. But the ones they've added is Teferi's Protection, Humility, Narset, Parter of Veils, Intuition, Consecrated Sphinx, Necropotence, Orcish Bowmasters, which, quick aside, Orcish Bowmasters and the One Ring, if we look back at some of the Universes Beyond sets, I think it's time we acknowledge that the Lord of the Rings set was probably one of the most pushed sets ever. Ridiculous how strong some of those cards coming out of that set were. But I can't complain. I have like 4 Orcish Bowmaster cards, so I really need them to not ban those. Otherwise, their value will crater, and I'll be a very sad man. Notion Thief, I have that in the mill deck. I don't really see it being that strong, but I guess they feel like it is. Deflecting Swat, that makes sense. It's a free spell. Gamble, Worldly Tutor, Crop Rotation, Seedborn Muse, Natural Order, Food Chain, which I now have 2 decks on the channel with a Food Chain combo, so I understand why they're saying that is a game changer, because it certainly is. Aura Shards, Field of the Dead, and Mishra's Workshop. So, obviously all of these are strong cards, but I think this comes down to a more fundamental conversation about how do you play Magic? What is important to you? I would say the only reason why I would watch this list is just to see as time goes on, if they end up banning any of these cards, what cards are going to unban. They talked about not banning or unbanning anything else until next year, so there should be some stability in the market from that standpoint, and then we'll see after that what they end up doing. I may be crazy with this, and you can let me know in the comments if you disagree. I don't really see a strong reason to ban cards in the Commander format. Now, before you kill me, here's my reason for saying that. There is the Commander format, and just Magic the Gathering in general has become so pushed these days. There's so much power creep that has gone on. There's a way to deal with just about everything. The amount of cheaper and cheaper counterspells, free counterspells that there are these days, destruction mechanisms. If you can't interact with your opponent's board state, that more is on you not building a super strong deck than like a card being too busted. That being said, I understand there are some busted cards, and I don't think it's the worst thing that there is a ban list. I just don't think that it's also super necessary. I am a big fan of house rules, and if your friends are fine with you playing a card, I say play the card. I think that being like, oh, we have to have our game changers list and this supposedly makes your deck that much stronger. That's not even necessarily true. You could have an Orcish Bowmaster in a deck and that deck be absolute crap if you don't build around those cards well. And that's why I think AI has such a hard job if you're doing like Mana Box or some of those other things that try to tell you what bracket your deck falls into. They really struggle. A lot of times they're not giving you a really great estimate on how strong your deck really is. So the whole bracket system as a whole, to each their own. I personally like what I like to play. You like to play what you like to play. But let me know, what do you think of these changes? Do you think that these cards are going to continue to rise in value, or if it's downhill from there? Are you playing any of the unbanned cards in your deck? And also, if you like content like this, let me know. Normally I'm doing deck builds and pack openings and things like that, but if you like more of this content of just kind of going over Magic as a format and my thoughts on it, go ahead and let me know in the description below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, ring the bell notification. We got new videos every week, and I'll see y'all next time.